Yeah.
A lot of this, grinding and accruing advantage over time.
Does he have the warship this weekend?
He does have a warship.
It's in the board, though.
In the board.
Okay, because he started it a couple of times. But he's got it in the board here this weekend. Now, this is going to be interesting, right? Because I think about Todd Stevens. I think about how much success he's had with this deck. But I also think that he makes versus videos with Ross Merriam. He's on Team BCW with Ross Merriam. So he may have tested the Elves matchup more than one would think. And if he can overcome this, because he doesn't have a lot of interaction.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that testing would inform here other than I have no shot game one. Let's see if I want to even bother having a sideboard for this, or do I just call it a loss?
Well, he's going to start things off with the Birds of Paradise. Man acceleration certainly important. He's found some. John Pellman has some as well. He's got a Pendle Haven, allowing him to play a Llanowar Elves. This is a Plains. That is a Courser. Top card is a Forest. That'll be Todd Stevens' draw next turn. Over to Pellman will go. Both these players 3-0 here in Louisville. We'll see what John wants to accelerate to for his second turn of the game. He'll crack a Windswept Teeth, fall down to at least 19, potentially 17. Pellman going to go with the White Splash here this weekend for Shalai. He's got a main deck copy of Aven Mind Sensor hanging out here. 2 copies of Azir Remedies to go along with Devoted Druid. As you see a Temple Garden. And some interesting white cards in the sideboard that we'll get to after game number 1. This is a Dire Winds Elite. That'll bring an Elf along with it. That is another copy of Llanowar Elves. And John Pellman will be passing his turn back. And there's his token. Now the Reliquary on top of the deck here for Todd Stevens. And he will play a Noble Hierarch. Horizon Canopy will be the land that Stevens plays next. That'll trigger the Courser, allow him to gain a life, and simply pass the turn back. What are you shaking your fingers at?
Attacking creature gets exalted. I thought he might snap him off there.
Fire up that bird. Give it some time.
From Stevens' perspective here, in the long term, he kind of has to hope that Pellman makes a mistake. Stevens is sitting on 1 copy of Path to Exile, and the hope is that Pellman goes for some line, try to kill in 1 turn, where the path breaks it all up.
Well, there's Azuri, and that's a good path target. The follow-up here, can't really get a good look at it, so I'll have to slide some things over. There we go. It's a Scavenging Ooze. Perfect. Ooze, not the best card in this matchup.
Modest.
Azuri is certainly worth killing, though. Let's see what this is going to be. Is this Dromoka's Command? Oh, yeah. Let's load that baby up. Haven't seen that card in 2.5 years.
Yeah, that's sweet. And he gets to keep the path in hand, too.
Yeah. Hey, every little change counts. He does not have this card in his deck for a long time. What are you looking at? Voice Resurgence? Look, you and Voice Resurgence have had a storied history.
Yeah.
2 of you have not gotten along very well at all.
You are just playing a different game of Magic than I am, if that's the card you want to play.
Once a standard staple, Dromoka's Command, green and white, for those of you who weren't battling a couple of years ago. You get to choose 2. Prevent all damage target instant or sorcery would deal this turn, so great against burn. Target player sacrifices an enchantment, so great against enchantments. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And target
great with your creatures.
There you go. And target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. Great at killing their creatures.
Yeah.
All kidding aside, this was a very good card in Standard 2 years ago. That'll be an Eternal Witness looking to get back Azuri. So Pellman will return that. And now he'll play Azuri. And we may see that one take a walk. We will.
Yep. Stevens just cannot let Pellman untap with that card.
Nope. That one's the one you got to keep away. As Stevens now has an active Knight of the Reliquary. He's drawing the very powerful Voice of Resurgence, Noble Hierarch on top of the deck. He'll play Voice. He's getting that battlefield all gummed up. This is what he does with this deck.
Yep. Now, the goal here, though, is that he has to be able to move to offense and get the game over with before Pellman draws some other overrun effect to close the game out.
Pellman has drawn a card. He'll sacrifice his Horizon Canopy to draw a card.
We're at a spot now where he can core for Shalai too, right?
Oh, yeah. Another Azuri.
Or, alternatively, kill Stevens the next turn.
Well, Todd, it's time to try to find another path to exile. He's going to start by sacrificing a forest to deny the Reliquary, get a land out of his deck. Likely a fetch land.
Yeah, you just need to get as many looks as possible.
Looks like he's going to go to Gaffney Township. A little surprise there. I do, of course, defer to his expertise, especially when playing this deck. No one knows it better, I would argue, on the planet.
If the game's going to be in a holding pattern anyway, or if Stevens is trying to get to that point, then Township is a great card to go get.
And it looks like he is going to Township. Rainynap Excavator.
Oh, it's just the value.
Oh, that's what it's all about.
You sacrifice the Horizon Canopy. You got a Knight of the Reliquary that's sacrificing some lands.
You're starting to get it. Per Todd Anderson 2 weeks ago.
Ooh.
Okay, well, he's found the answer.
Yep, there we go.
Todd Stevens is not just the mayor of Value Town, he is the czar of Value Town. Top card now is Noble Hierarch. Let's see what the follow-up will be here. I think it'll be Excavator, which will allow him to play a land from the graveyard.
Ooh, boy.
There's the Excavator. This will be a Scavenging Ooze eating Horizon Canopy. Okay, so John on that one right away. But Stevens, he'll go get himself a Wooded Foothills. He'll gain a life from the Courser. I can keep up with all this stuff, I think. Now it's time to go pathing. Take care of Azuri again. Can't let Pellman have that. Or at least try to take care of Azuri. Maybe Pellman has a cord.
Oh, if he has cord for...
He does not. He's just going to regenerate 2 elves. If he has cord for Shell-Eye,
yeah,
it'd be a pretty big beating.
Other things are hexproof. Then you attack.
I get my bingo square.
You get your bingo square.
It all adds up. It really all adds up. But Pellman does not have cord. So it looks like 2 Azuris have been taken care of. 2 more to go here for Pellman. As Pellman will draw a card. He'll play a Horizon Canopy. He'll draw another card. Well, how about that?
Okay.
Put him to the test once again.
Sure.
All right, now the Reliquary, what do you got going on? Pellman will pass. Now, for what it's worth, this isn't like, the best Azuri in the world. There's no Devoted Druid plus Vizier.
There's no combo. He does have enough mana just off of his lands to overrun once. But you can see Stevens here with Gaffney Township might be able to build up a little bit. Might be able to get his creatures large enough to be able to make some blocks here.
This time, Stevens will search up a fetch land. Now, keep in mind also, Azuri says elf creatures you control. There's an Eternal Witness over there that's not an elf. If memory serves, I believe that's a Shaman. And then there's a Scavenging Ooze over there, too.
Not an elf.
Not an elf. So just saying. This Azuri is a problem, of course, but it's not the best Azuri I've ever seen. Now, Tireless Tracker is going to allow Todd Stevens to get even deeper into his deck. And he's got 2 fetch lands, too, with the Tracker.
Interesting to me that if that Pellman is allowing Stevens to have priority with the Excavator here against the Scavenging Ooze.
Okay.
I mean, you've got enough green mana here where you could just eat even the fetch lands too, right?
I think he's starting to get to that point. As Stevens will make a clue token here from his Tireless Tracker.
I just don't know what else you're holding up the green mana for. I guess he wants to be able to block and regenerate is the thinking. He's not going to try to fight over 1 land drop.
Player investigates a dig.
Oh, yep.
That's on my board.
And Stevens, does he have a Dryad Arbor in his deck?
I don't think so.
Does not appear so.
Yeah.
Okay. Have to wait. What about our Elves player? I would have to imagine there's one, right?
You imagined wrong. Westville Abbey, though.
Okay.
I like that.
I do too.
I haven't seen that card for a while. Pellman bringing out all the old hits. 2 clues here for Stevens. See what the top card is. Looks like we're going to do a little bit of eating of lands here with Scavenging Ooze. Company. Okay. Play a land from the graveyard. Gain a life. Make another clue. Up to 3. Got an active Knight. Some pretty big creatures. Township is tapped. Let's see here. Going to eat a forest. And anything else that Pellman wants to eat here, he'll eat a Path to Exile.
But we're reaching a point here where I think Pellman's going to have to, if not go infinite, at least get close to it. Because Stevens has gummed up the works enough that even just Azuri overrunning every turn is not going to be enough to make inroads on the board.
Pellman going to draw a card there, Horizon Canopy. This is the Voted Druid. Well, now we're getting close to infinite.
Yep.
That's piece 1 of that puzzle. Pellman playing not 1, but 2 copies of Vizier of Remedies this weekend. Stevens is going to draw a card. He's going to draw a Collected Company counter on the tracker. Top card is a Windswept Heath. Stevens doesn't want to draw a Windswept Heath, so he'll sacrifice that plain Snyder the Reliquary. He'll get a Wooded Foothills. That'll trigger the Courser. That'll trigger the tracker. Gain a life, get a clue.
Players in the 10 a.m. Sealed Spectacular.
So this is a little fun. I could see why he likes to play this deck. This is a little fun.
And how familiar is Pellman with the board getting to this level of complexity versus how familiar is Stevens?
It's true.
Stevens has been around the block a few times here.
Stevens going to pay a life to sacrifice that Wooded Foothills to get a land out of his deck, and then he'll gain a life from the Courser. He'll also get a clue, so stay net neutral on life, but be plus a clue and plus a Temple Garden.
But keep in mind,
what'll be the top card is the question.
He's only got a couple paths in his deck, and if Pellman goes infinite, even all this, these little pieces of value don't amount to a whole lot.
That's your boy, Voice of Resurgence.
Hell yeah!
Gonna draw that off, sacking a clue, make tracker look bigger. Top card, Noble Hierarch. Not ideal. Will Stevens draw the Noble Hierarch, or perhaps will he sack with Knight of the Reliquary? He'll draw Noble Hierarch. Ooze on the top, okay.
Yeah.
Looks like he's going to go to Collected Company. Okay, so take a look at the top 6. Ooze is among them. There's also another Voice of Resurgence, a Noble Hierarch, and another Company.
Hell yeah. More voices, please.
So here's an Ooze and a Voice. Top card for Stevens here in just a moment. Windswept Heath. Hasn't played a land yet. Put that in from the Courser. Play it, gain a life, get a clue. It's not hard for him to get through his deck, folks. We've seen him do it a whole bunch. Birds of Paradise, should probably shuffle that one away.
But keep in mind that Pellman gets to work with full information here because Stevens' draw steps are all exposed by the Courser. So Pellman knows it's good to go if he happens to draw a massing combo piece to go with the Devoted Druid.
Yes. Which, of course, could be Company, Chord,
or
Vizier itself. Stevens out of lands? I was going to say. Temple Garden's going to enter the battlefield untapped. Trigger the Courser and get another clue. Up to 5 here for the 2017 SCG Tour Player of the Year. Top card, another Courser. Stevens. Another Voice, perhaps? All right.
That should about do it then. The third Voice.
You know what we call this? Voice flooded.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Scav News is going to get a little hungry here, eating lands and companies, keeping out of the Reliquary very small. Pellman's going to untap. He's on the hunt for a Vizier of Remedies. Again, 2 copies. He's also got 4 Chords and 4 Collected Companies to be able to find this thing. He's already reaching for mana. This is a land. Excuse me, that's an Elvish Mystic. They are so close.
You can see even with mana and Azuri, I don't think Pellman can really offer up much of an attack. Especially since Stevens just has the option of jumping with a Voice of Resurgence, worst comes to worst. He certainly can't go wide.
Pellman will play his Forest and pass, and now Stevens will get to have a whole bunch of fun on the end of Pellman's end step and during his turn. He'll start by sacrificing a clue, draw a Courser. Now the Reliquary is on top of the deck. Does Stevens want that, or does he want to activate his Knight of the Reliquary? Looks like he's going to activate his Knight of the Reliquary. He will sacrifice a basic Forest. Turn that Knight upside down And let's go searching for the old powerful Horizon Canopy, perhaps. Yeah, you might be thinking fetch land. Could be thinking, oh, maybe try to establish a little bit of a ghost quarter lock here. That'd be a little bit wild.
That's a tough way to do it against elves.
They only have 4 basics, and they're all on the battlefield right now.
I don't think. I mean, against the opposing Scavenging Ooze, I think that seems like a tough.
That seems more difficult. Yes, good call. Tireless Tracker, the top card of the deck. Forest gets eaten from the graveyard.
And Stevens basically needs to find a path before he can really proceed on the ground here. Oh boy.
New music.
Oh boy.
Archangel Avacid is the reveal. We'll get to that one in just a little bit. For now, it's a Tireless Tracker. And the follow-up is Sacrifice a Clue. Another counter on the tracker. Let's make it trackers, plural. Draw Avacid, Horizon Canopy on top. Play that from the top of the deck. He hasn't played a land yet this turn. Gain a life. Up to 26. How about another clue? Up to 6. Top card, Bird's Paradise. Oh. All right, play a Noble Hierarch. Thought he might be attacking with that bird for a moment. You're still waiting for that Exalted trigger, aren't you?
I would take it. I mean, Stevens seems not too worried about getting in a chip shot here or there, just making it as hard as possible for Pellman to attack.
Stevens will sacrifice a Windswept Heath. He'll lose a life and then gain a life, and more importantly, he'll get another clue.
Also,
up to 8.
He has a lot of demands on his mana too because he's got so many clues.
See what the top card is after this shuffle. It's Clutch Company.
But for Stevens, I think the real prize is if he can find another path, because if he can path the Azuri, he doesn't worry about getting killed, and it's very easy for him to go on offense also.
Totally agree.
As it stands, though, all these extra cards may not amount to a whole lot.
Pellman is going to do a little bit of oozing, and he's hoping to draw a quarter of Azir. Didn't get a great look at what he drew. He is surveying a rather cluttered battlefield on both sides here. And now he's reaching for mana. Is this a chord for 2? Might be just trying to figure out exactly what can go wrong here as John Pellman if he did draw a chord.
And remember, he knows every card Stevens has drawn.
Well, it was not a chord, folks. It was just another copy of Elvish Mystic. Or perhaps Land of War Elves. Either one mana elf he played is irrelevant as we head back over to Todd Stevens, who will draw Clutch Company. Top card of Todd's deck is another copy of Knight of the Reliquary. Stevens will now cast Company. Noble Hierarch, Knight of the Reliquary among there. He found a path to exile. He does not want that in a Collected Company. He would prefer to have that in his hand. Stevens is actually trying to find spaces to put his permanents now. That's how cluttered his battlefield is.
Value flooded.
Top card. Hey,
there we go. There we go.
Stevens will sacrifice a clue as opposed to the canopy. Trackers will get a little bit larger. Draw. Top card. Rain-Up Excavator. Perhaps now we path that very annoying Azuri. See exactly what he's targeting with that. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Azuri, and I think Pellman's just going to figure out how he wants to use it in response.
Yeah, just shields up a bunch of his blockers here.
Mm-hmm. There goes Azuri after a few activations, of course. Stevens' battlefield is just a mess. He'll attack with... Is that just... Okay,
No.
He's using this. Never mind. He'll get a Ghost Quarter. Oh, boy. He might be going for the Ghost Quarter plan. Who knows now? Scavenging Ooze will eat the plains. Top card, path number 4.
Nice
Maybe-
piece of insurance.
Maybe number 3. Not sure which path that is. Either
That's
way.
4.
Either way, it is a nice piece of insurance. No doubt about that. Now Stevens might be asking himself, am I able to just get in here with all my creatures? Any of them? He says, I'll pass. Keep setting up. Go back over to Pellman, who will draw. And now Stevens will sacrifice a clue. Draw a card. Another Ghost Quarter. He'll untap here, it looks like. All of these permanents. Not as many lands as you would think, though. As he draws a Ghost Quarter, collect a company on top of the deck. I have to ask Todd at some point, has he ever decked himself playing this deck? Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, a concession because he can't actually win the game would not stud me.
There are some locks out there he just can't beat. Oof. Exalted Trigger.
Ding, ding, ding.
Wow. Wow. Nope, you didn't get it. Yes! Great attack. Great attack by Todd.
Come on.
That's a great, they call that a string attack in
Yeah.
poker.
Yeah, you got to take that back.
That's a string attack.
Yeah, your Exalted Trigger is on the stack,
Yeah.
buddy.
And what,
It's a string, yes, it's a string attack.
what ruined it for you? Those damn voice resurgences.
Yeah,
They're coming in now.
yeah.
3 voice resurgences, one of which is a 3/3. What's that?
Voice of Resurgence.
Plural.
So many good deals that never manifest.
They're all coming in. There's that 2/2 elemental. From, if memory serves, Dragon's Maze.
Yes.
A set often made fun of, but a couple of good cards in there.
Thought it was fun. I mean, that's if you want to make a marquee mythic to help sell some packs, that's a weird bet to place right there on that fancy gold design. But I thought the set was fun.
Uh-oh, are we out of... Oh, this is going to be the real dice test here. Do we have enough? We need one for the excavator. Stevens is running us out of dice.
Now, keep in mind, Pellman can still spike into a combo here.
Pretty tough now without Azuri, right?
Is he out of Azuri's in the deck?
Oh, well, I guess he could company into Azuri plus Vizier
Yeah.
and then go nuts.
And he's got a Witness in his deck. I guess Todd's got his own ooze at this point.
Yeah. Well, Pellman's already found his Witness this game. There's a Heritage Druid. And Todd actually has maybe a little bit of protection with that path.
If Pellman says go, then...
Yeah, that is going to do it, folks. Todd Stevens is going to win game number 1 here over John Pellman. Green-White Company up a game over Elves. He ground him into dust.
And that's a big one to get because it's not like Stevens is flush with game 1 interaction. He's got more in his sideboard. So a bit of an upset there and a big game 1 win for Stevens.
You can see exactly how things work there for Todd Stevens. He knows the matchup pretty well, knows his deck extremely well, and able to work himself to a game 1 victory. We'll watch game number 2 between these two just a bit. We are back. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan. We are here in the booth getting ready to watch game number 2 between Todd Stevens and John Pellman. Green and White Company up a game here over Elves, but we take a look at Pellman and his sideboard. 2 Kitchen Finks, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Reclamation Sage, 2 Stony Silence, 2 Eidolon of Rhetoric, a Kataki War's Wage, Linvala, Keeper of Silence, Selfless Spirit, Settle the Wreckage, and Scavenging Ooze. What do we like there?
Nothing. The Linvala, I suppose. I'm fine with the Linvala.
Linvala's very good.
Yeah, Linvala.
Okay.
Take a Linvala.
3 Surgical Extraction, 2 Engineer Explosives, 2 Reclamation Sage, 2 Stony Silence, along with some one-ofs here for Stevens and Eidolon of Rhetoric, Elspeth Sun's Champion, Eldritch Evolution, Gideon's Intervention, Kataki War's Wage, and the nice one here, I think, in Worship.
Worship's great. It should be a single card lock unless Pellman's brought in his Reclamation Sages. I like the Eldritch Evolution in this matchup because it's not like Pellman's bringing a lot of removal or counter to the table, so you can just do your thing. And the 2 Engineer Explosives are going to be great.
Well, those are the options there for both players. They're waiting for the green light from us, and we're about to give it to them as John Pellman will be on the play. It's the Land of War Elves to start there for Pellman. For Stevens, just Temple Garden tapped. Pellman will draw very quickly for his second turn of the game, play a basic forest. And there is a Devoted Druid. Here is another copy of a 1-mana elf, this time of Elvis Mystic. And we go back over to Todd Stevens. Stevens with a forest. A couple copies of Path to Exile that you can see. And he will Path Devoted Druid right now.
So that's the tough call there from Stevens' side. If you don't path the Devoted Druid and Pellman can go infinite, then the path is unlikely to break anything up. If Pellman's just kind of flooding out a little bit, or he's on Collected Company this game, then that's not a very efficient use of your path.
How about a beatdown for 1? How's
Love
that
it.
sound? Yeah?
Start working him down. Suspicious that you would attack with 1 elf, but
Yeah.
not the other.
Can't really figure out what's going on, huh?
Oh well.
Must
have missed it.
Here's another reliquary. A Collected Company here from John Pellman will allow him to take a look at the top 6 cards, find 2 elves to place onto the battlefield. As he's gone by, it looks like a copy of Settle the Wreckage.
And I like that, joking around a little bit about it, but I think it makes sense there for Pellman to not do it on his main phase. Unlikely to generate some path to anything beyond that on the turn. And he could be playing against sweepers this game, so why expose anything else?
Derwin's Elite and Heritage Druid will enter the battlefield from the company, which of course means that an elf will be brought along. So, former Invitational Champion Liam Lonergan has joined the battlefield. There is Azuri, Renegade Leader. Pellman couldn't really get one to stick in the last game, but he has one here this game, though no access to infinite mana at this stage. 3 green mana here from Heritage Druid will allow Pellman to play a Scavenging Ooze. He will eat the path with the excess green mana, and now pass the turn back. Over to Stevens we will go. See what Todd's up to here this turn. He'll start by playing a Plains, and now he'll play a Collected Company. Top 6. Yeah, boy, not a good company there.
Collected Company only finds 1 creature.
Is that on your board?
Yeah, it is.
Jeez.
And
Jeez.
that hit dovetails very nicely into an Exalted attack, perhaps down the line.
Maybe.
Might get a little 2-for-1
Yeah.
for my trouble. A little bit of value.
A little 2-for-1 aisle 3, huh? Basic Plains here for Stevens from the Knight of the Reliquary. This will allow him to cast Path to Exile, and he will cast it on that Azuri. And get that thing out of here. This will allow Pellman to search up his last basic forest. Again, 4 main deck forests here for John Pellman this weekend. Now, oddly enough, 6-power Knight of the Reliquary I don't think ever happened last game.
No, I think the graveyard was always 2 pinned down from the ooze and the excavator.
You want to talk about running bad. Cavern of Souls. We'll see what that's naming here in just a moment. This is big for you.
Yeah, you can name Angel.
Uh-huh. Named Wizard.
Hell yeah. Counter Souls not naming Eldrazi elves or humans.
You're building something here.
Yeah, we got a little something going on.
Bottom row for Team Patrick.
You can go upstairs too.
Yeah, 5 or 6. You ran bad. No 5 or 6, 5, 6 or larger Tarmogoyf.
Yep. Still plenty of time.
Yeah. They kept being 4 5s. Tracker. Sack the clue, draw a card. Bird of Paradise. Not a great hand here for Todd Stevens. Yep. What do we have here from Pellman? That's an Aven Mind Sensor, I believe.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Big Bird. He's got 1 main deck. That's a wizard. You get it now. I get it now. Elvish Archdruid. There you do see the Mind Sensor. 2 and white, 2-1. Flash Flyer. If an opponent would search a library, that player searches the top 4 cards of that library instead. Something that Todd Stevens' deck does a lot of, as here comes Pellman with all those creatures. Keep in mind the elves have gotten a little bit larger here. They're 2/2s. Scavenging Ooze is a 2/2 with access to a little bit of mana, but not much to do with it. And then Mind Sensor is a 2/1 flyer. Looks like the Elite is going to get blocked by a Birds of Paradise, but you see Stevens is going to kind of survey the battlefield with this attack.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Bird's going to chump, and he's going to try to eat a little bit here. Still likely facing lethal next turn, unless he can get the Archdruid off the table.
And the answer is he's not going to be able to, it looks like. So, John Pellman is going to win game number 2 here over Todd Stevens. Elves and Green-White Company are going to get ready for a third and final one. We might take another look at the sideboards here in a moment, but first, a couple of messages from our sponsors. Alrighty, game number 3 about to be underway here between Todd Stevens, your 2017 SCG Tour Player of the Year, and John Pellman. Game 3, Green-White Company and Elves. You see the clock, about 15 minutes left to play. There should be enough time to finish, though, if old Todd Stevens gums things up. Might take a little more time than that.
Yeah, but there's a burden on Stevens to close out the game because setting aside the worship for a second, he doesn't really lock Pellman out. Even in the first game where eventually Stevens got to a dominating position, he was still at risk of getting infinite comboed out through the back door. So he does want to set up shop, obviously, and generate a bunch of value and make it hard for Pellman to make incremental attacks. But Stevens is still under the burden to end the game as fast as he can.
Elvish Mystic here for Pellman. For Stevens, he'll play Windswept Teeth, the Birds of Paradise that he certainly just drew for the turn. We head back over to John. And John will come in here for 1. That's not a very explosive second turn. Temple Garden on tap. Pellman's going to fall down to 17. Devoted Druid. Stevens will sacrifice that Windswept Teeth. I think we'll see a Temple Garden here in just a moment. Although I suppose it could just be a basic Plains, and it will be. And he will path there and keep this party rolling. Perhaps Stevens has a turn 3 Collected Company to play to get the Value Town engine rolling. Stevens will draw. Picked up a Forest. He'll play a Courser of Krufix. Top card, Knight of the Reliquary. Now, he'll play a Wooded Foothills, gain a life. It's time to slowly get that ball rolling here, Patrick, as we head back over to John Pellman.
This is too slow. These aren't the pieces that matter at the end of it.
Horizon Canopy the land there for John. And there's a Heritage Druid. Bats turn back. Ghost Quarter on top now here for Stevens. Stevens will sacrifice this Wooded Foothills. And there's a basic Forest.
Interesting, he didn't even want the freeway.
Yeah, a little surprised by that. What is the method to the madness here? Noble Hierarch. Knight of the Reliquary. Forest. Trigger. Voice. Pass. I wonder why I didn't want that free land.
Yeah, because the easiest thing, the first thing that came to mind was, well, he just must need all of his colored mana. But he could have played the Knight with a colorless mana, so.
That's not a good Collected Company. Just an Elvish Mystic. Here's an attack. Keep in mind that Collected Company was in response to the Voice of Resurgence.
Right, no trigger. Because, of course, not.
It's got text, you know.
A lot of it.
There's Azuri. Pellman will take one. There's Scavenging Ooze again. We head back over to Stevens. Stevens on the upkeep. Looks like he's going to float a white. Sacrifice that Plains to get a land here with Knight of the Reliquary. He'll get a Township.
I remember Pellman, again, working with the public information on Stevens' draw steps, too.
Top card, Forest. Not ideal here for Stevens. Stevens will play Company with that mana floating. Top 6. Looks like Birds and Ooze.
Yep, not a whole lot here.
Ooze and Courser.
Not protection against going infinite, but
Plains the draw. Windswept Heath on top. Trigger twice. Next card, Noble Hierarch. Easy to shuffle away.
But Stevens can't draw a card here. And the draw step is public, so.
Here's 3 green mana. Going to eat 3 lands. And Pellman will untap. No going infinite here for Pellman this turn with Azuri.
But he may not need to go fully infinite here with between Azuri and Heritage Druid. There might be, if he's just got stuff in his hand to play, he might be able to start activating 2 times in a turn.
Eternal Witness. Was going to target Collected Company, but Scavenging Ooze said, I don't think so. It's my hope that John didn't have anything better to do that turn. Maybe he missed
I would
that.
have just opened on, sacking Horizon Canopy before doing that. Because you have a lot of draws to a kill right here. And that was not going to amount to much with Stevens having the Scavenging Ooze at the ready.
Stevens will sacrifice that windswept heath. He'll get himself a Temple Garden. And it looks like he'll remove a land from Pellman's graveyard. We'll head back over to Stevens. We want to see what his top card is before he draws. That's a Path to Exile.
It's a big one.
Next up is a Tireless Tracker. Now we're getting going a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, the path really reduces Pellman's board to not being that threatening. There's still the risk of comboing out, I suppose, but a really key piece has just fallen by the wayside.
Well, it's always in the back of your head when you're playing against elves that they can assemble Devoted Druid and Vizier of Remedies plus Azuri or something else to win the game. Looks like Pellman's going to do a little bit of activating here. Okay. Now he'll search up a land. There's a Plains there for Stevens. That will not only let him gain 2 life, but it'll also let him leave up Gavany Township. However, tick-tock goes their clock, folks. We're underneath 8 minutes in game number 3 of round 4 here from Louisville. Scavenging Ooze from Pellman's side will eat that windswept heath. Make that another reliquary a little bit worse as we are going to go back over to John Pellman. See what comes next here for John. Looks like he may have a copy of Selfless Spirit in hand. If my new glasses are not deceiving me.
Curious, although I guess there's some respect for a sweeper out of Stevens' sideboard.
Also, just having a flyer doesn't hurt.
I don't get the sense that Pellman's going to be able to win these games by nickel and diming damage through.
I think I agree with you on that against the battlefield that has 2 Coursers plus Knight on it.
You either respect sweepers or you don't. I don't think it's about, well, Stevens is mostly on the ground, so I get a little flying on it. I don't think that's the recipe here.
What is this? Chord for 3. Okay. Maybe it's Azuri time again. Yeah. You're seeing this on the main phase because of the power of Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah, it's just so much.
Here's a Township activation.
And Pellman wants to get on the battlefield now, and in general, because he wants to protect himself from combat, he needs to be able to regenerate his blockers here.
Tracker, top card, Foothills, gain 2, make a clue, reveal, Noble Hierarch. Sack that Foothills, shuffle that Hierarch away, pay a life to gain 2 life. I do that every day. And I get a clue? Yes, please. Top card to me coming here for Stevens in just a moment. It's another Tireless Tracker. Stevens will just pass with a Township activation at the ready. Let's go back over to John Pellman. He'll add some green mana from Heritage Druid. He'll remove some cards from Stevens' graveyard. Now he'll untap as we work our way towards 5 minutes left in the round. This will be a Rising Canopy. There's a Razorverge Thicket. 4 mana. That is a Linvala Keeper of Silence, and we need to take a look at that one because Stevens is certainly going to have a response with his Knights and his mana creatures. Linvala can be a huge problem here for Todd, as it says activated abilities of creatures your opponents control can't be activated. And those activated abilities include Scavenging Ooze, Neither Reliquary, and Birds of Paradise.
Tireless Tracker, too. Oh, sorry, no, excuse me, not Tracker.
The clues you said.
Yeah, the clues, yeah, clues are fine.
Sacrifice that Wooded Foothills now, Will Stevens. He'll lose 1 to gain 2 and a clue.
But fortunately for Stevens, Voice of Resurgence is still just fine. It's not even
it still just does what it does.
It's on all the time.
Yeah. And now Linvala will be off again. Yeah. Potentially.
And, you might be saying, man, Stevens is just getting so lucky hitting these paths all the time. his deck churns through so many cards that he's going to be able to find. His non-lands are going to show up a lot more frequently than they do for the average deck.
Keep in mind, this is all with Linvala on the stack, and now Linvala has resolved, and now it'll be pathed away. So Pellman will search. Yes, at some point with how many cards Steven sees and how much shuffling he's done, if he doesn't find a path, it starts to border on being unlucky.
Right.
The script gets flipped.
Tons of redraws and shuffles and...
A kaboom!
Oh, boy. So now, it's a little bit mitigated here by the Azuri, but this is some very powerful protection here for Stevens.
He found a copy of Engineered Explosives, folks. Now, the question is, what number do you set it on? You set it on 3, you blow up most of your stuff. Now, Azuri can't regenerate itself, but losing 2 coursers and either Reliquary, that doesn't seem all that appealing. You set it on 1, well, you're blowing up your own birds, and you're probably not killing any of Stevens' elves, or excuse me, Pellman's elves, because he's got Azuri on the battlefield. So I'm curious how this goes. Yeah, Pellman wants to take a look at Engineered Explosives, and I think he could say, I'll just regenerate my 1-drops, man.
Yeah, this play from Stevens does not make a lot of sense unless there's a follow-up or he's just so interested in attacking that he's happy to tap things down.
I think there could be a follow-up of I'm about to attack you. I think that's what we might be seeing here. Because you take a look at all of these creatures. Coursers are 3/5s. Voice of Resurgence.
Still has a township activation left.
Mm-hmm. Tracker is a 5-power creature. Ooze is a 3-power creature. Neither Reliquary is a 3-power creature. I think this may have been by design.
Yep.
It's not conventional, this line of play for this Green-White Company deck. But Stevens knows the deck oh so well with what he can do. Pellman. Stevens shortcutted a little bit here with the explosives. As he put his bird in the graveyard right away, and Pellman said, I want to remove that. Well, it's not actually there just yet. Now it is, as explosives resolves. Stevens will play Horizon Canopy. Clue, gain some life. You see the top card of his deck is a Noble Hierarch.
He's got 4 unblockable attackers here.
He'll eat something in the graveyard, eat that birds.
Because he has 6 attackers and 3 blockers, but everything's hitting for at least 4 through the Gaffney Township, so I think this is just lethal.
I think you may be right on that one. Pellman will take a look, try to figure out what the 3 largest blockers are, but even if Pellman were to live through this turn, he'd lose all of his stuff.
Right.
Todd Stevens going to win this game in match over John Pellman 2-1. Green-White Company going to overcome what looks like a bad matchup in Elves, but if you watch those 2 games that Todd Stevens won, though they were lengthy, he had a plan the whole time.
Yep.